High-impact tutoring has become a major focus of education under the Sherrill administration. It actually started under former Governor Murphy, bolstered by pandemic relief aid in 2023. And it's had great success, both here in New Jersey and in other states across the nation that have implemented it in districts where students are struggling to reach grade level achievement. I recently spoke with our urban education writer, Julie O'Connor, about the district of Trenton that's actually had to return funding to the state for high-impact tutoring. It's a complicated story that she breaks down for us. Julie, so great to see you. This is a really important topic. We know that the state has made high impact tutoring a priority, and you took a look at the District of Trenton, one of the state's largest cities, that did not receive any funding for high impact tutoring in the latest round. What's happening there?
The state has been hiring tutors to help boost students' math and reading scores, but in the latest round of grant funding, it went out to about 47 traditional school districts, 8 charter schools, and Trenton was not on that list, which was really surprising to advocates. I mean, this is the state's capital. It is the neediest district in the state in terms of low test scores. Trenton has replaced Camden at the bottom of ranking of the state's 31 poorest districts. And so it was a mystery to a lot of people, why Trenton was not on this list of awardees.
Okay, but to make the problem even more confusing, you also uncovered the fact that Trenton had to return about 80% of its last grant. Paint that picture. What's happening there?
Folks were alarmed. Senator Shirley Turner, who is a state lawmaker who's represented Trenton for decades, was really concerned to see that Trenton was not on this list of the latest awardees. And so she called up the State Department of Education to find out more. And what they told her was that Trenton did receive, a state grant of more than $700,000 in 2024, yet had to forfeit, 80% of that grant money, which never made it to Trenton kids for tutoring. It's not clear why. And she and others now wonder, did that factor into the state's decision in this latest round not to award any tutoring grant money to Trenton?
To put a fine point on that, that's $550,000, right? That was allocated to Trenton that did not get used. When we look at the standards, achievement standards in Trenton, when we look at poverty levels in Trenton, does it make sense that they wouldn't be using $550,000? Where do the students stand in terms of achievement there?
It seems baffling. Trenton spends about $24,000 per pupil, and yet of the third graders, only about 8% read on grade level and roughly 12% are proficient at math. And these are scores that have barely budged in recent years. It's something that advocates say, is really disturbing, and it really demonstrates why Trenton needs this money so desperately for tutoring.
So 8% are meeting proficiency in third grade?
For reading, that's right.
How does the district explain, one, that the funding wasn't used, and two, that, well, let's start with the funding not being used. How does the district explain that?
I don't have answers yet. I mean, the district superintendent and the school board president are not commenting. The State Department of Education is not speaking to Trenton's specific case. So it's unclear why that grant money, all of it was not used in the last round. And it's also still unclear why Trenton got nothing in this round. The State Department of Education just said that this was a competitive grant process, and districts were evaluated based on things like, the design of their program and the readiness to implement it. And if you didn't meet all of those factors, that you would score too low to qualify.
And so, to be clear, their application was rejected by the state, right? This is not a failure to apply. This was a rejection.
The Senator Turner spoke with a district official who, filled out the district's grant proposal. They definitely applied, and she said that she heard nothing from the state in terms of deficiencies. So it's unclear why Trenton was not among the districts and charter schools that was awarded one of these grants in the latest round.
You raised the issue of oversight in your reporting of this. I know it's something you spoke to Senator Turner about. What oversight is there over the application process, the approval process, and who does that overseeing?
I believe the state largely leaves it to districts, to meet the parameters of the competitive grant process. They're laid out and districts apply. And in this latest round, the state said that the grants were targeted more particularly to districts with low test scores, which is why it was striking that Trenton, the neediest district in the state in terms of test scores, was not one of the awardees.
Can you compare Trenton to any of the other 31, what we call SDA districts, Schools Development Authority districts, formerly called Abbott districts? Uh, do any of them compare in terms of getting this type of funding or not getting it?
Others got this funding. In the latest round, Newark was awarded about $400,000, in a state grant for tutoring. Trenton ranks at the bottom of the state's 31 poorest districts. Currently in Trenton, there are a few community programs providing some tutoring, but it's very limited in scope. They're relying on raising private funds. They're serving a few hundred students when there are more than 1,000 Trenton second graders that are, pretty desperate for early reading intervention.
If this, and we don't know, but if this application was rejected because Trenton, the school district, simply didn't have the readiness to implement a high impact tutoring program, what questions does this raise then about district operations, about oversight of these types of programs that should be rolled out if you have 8% proficiency?
Well, it's disturbing. I mean, going forward, nearly 100 more school districts, that's thousands more students, may get access to this high quality tutoring. This is under Governor Mikey Sherrill's proposal to double the budget for this tutoring. And this has shown like great success in states like Louisiana and Mississippi, where poor students have been propelled from the bottom of national rankings to the top with a combination of this tutoring and also phonics-based curriculum, and they're now at the top in terms of fourth grade reading scores. So I think it's an important question to figure out, why did Trenton not get this money in the latest round? How can it fix whatever problems exist so that these students, these who are desperate for early reading intervention and other supports, don't get left out again in future rounds if there is more funding for high impact tutoring in New Jersey?
Yeah, and we know that that third grade age is so critical because before third grade, you are learning to read, and after third grade, you are reading to learn. So it impacts the life cycle of a student. Julie O'Connor, our urban education writer, great job on this. Keep an eye out and keep us informed on what's happening in Trenton. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna.